everybody. Welcome to the Sharon and Joe Show. My name is Sharon.
My name is Joe.
Every Monday, we get together to discuss narcissism from both a male and a female perspective. As many of you know, we're in a long-distance relationship, so we usually communicate through text, email, and phone. Once a week, we hit the record button and include you in on our conversation so that all of us can share our experience, strength, and hope together. I release videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on all topics related to narcissism. So if you haven't already, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos. We would really appreciate it if you gave the video a thumbs up. It's a free way you can help us out. And definitely don't forget to leave a comment because we want to know what you have to say. So for today's video, Joe and I are going to discuss dating after narcissistic abuse, how to know you're ready to be in a relationship, how you can be in a relationship. Now, the reason that we're going to talk about this today is because I've gotten several comments and emails from people, and all these comments and emails basically say the same thing, which is they think it's great that I'm in a relationship, but they don't know how I can be. Essentially, how can I trust somebody again after everything that I've been through? So Joe and I are going to talk about that a little bit tonight, and I hope this helps somebody. So Joe, why don't you get the ball rolling? Can you tell us when you knew you were ready to be in a new relationship?
Yeah, and I can understand too how people, that's a really good question. But if I answer it truthfully, it's like I really didn't know when I was ready or that I was ready. It's been about 1.5 years since I kicked the ex out of my life. And about 9 months in is when I met you. But in between that time, since you've been gone in that 9 months when we first started talking, I was in enough pain where I was forced to reflect on my part and how I got in the situation to begin with. The pain made me look at my own childhood trauma and the lack of self-worth and the lack of self-esteem that I had, the codependence that I had on other people. So, it was about 3 months in where I started to really develop the most important relationship that we could ever have. And that's the relationship with God. And I started to make conscious contact with him through talking to him, through listening. And it developed to a point where my reliance and dependence was on God because I believe that Jesus saved me from this entanglement that I was in. I know it wasn't myself, and it was pretty much beyond human aid. I got help from other people, but as much as you love me, you can't love me enough for me to love me, So when we connected, I was at the point where I trusted in God, and therefore I trusted in myself. I had a relationship with my true self. And at a certain point in time in a relationship, when we started to kind of evolve and grow, it's just, God told me in his voice, not mine, in his own voice, you're ready. You're ready to create and inspire and to grow. I had recovered from a hopeless state of both mind and body. What was it like for you, Sharon? Like, did you know that, hey, I'm ready? And I wasn't looking for anybody. I wasn't closed off, like to say never again, but I wasn't like, I enjoyed this relationship I had with myself. I could take or leave dating. What was it like for you?
Well, for me, actually, before I start, I just want, for people that don't know, I want to just let you know how Joe and I got together. Joe was originally a subscriber to the channel, and he left some comments, which led to an email, which led to a phone conversation, which led to us moving in together soon. So that's how we got together. And so when I first started, like you, Joe, I wasn't looking for a relationship. I did eventually want to get into another relationship, but not for a few years. My youngest was 14 at the time when Joe and I first started communicating, and my plan was I really wanted to wait until he graduated high school. I was going to concentrate on my kids while they were living with me, and then when they were on their own, then maybe I would find a relationship at that point. So that was my plan. So I wasn't looking for a relationship. And when Joe and I first started communicating, it began, like I said, online. Then we spoke on the phone, and I really liked Joe a lot when I first spoke to him. I just thought he was, I was really impressed with him. But I wasn't thinking anything romantic. I remember thinking, oh, I wish it was closer. But the reality is he was a few states away, so it wasn't anything that I thought would happen, or so that was it. As we started communicating more, like things just kind of changed. And I think for me, I had a level of, for anybody, if you're dating after narcissistic abuse or any type of abuse, if you have to get to a certain point emotionally to be ready. Otherwise, and Joe and I have said this several times to each other, neither of us want to be in a relationship with the other person and then them bringing their ex into the relationship. Our exes can't be a part of our relationship, or we're not going to have a good relationship. So Joe and I both had to be at a good point so that we could trust somebody else, so we could love somebody else. And that happened. I was at a good enough point. I had done a lot of work. For me also, I just want to state, I feel like my recovery is a little bit different than other people because I never really had a lingering trauma after the relationship ended. For me, and I think a lot of it had to do with I was miraculously saved. Joe mentioned God. The same thing for me. God saved me from codependence in 2016. I wasn't codependent for 3 years prior to the relationship ending. And that had a lot to do with this. I was my authentic self. Now, I grew after the relationship ended because I didn't have this dark cloud of misery over me. But when my relationship ended for 2 months, it was horrible. It was hell because I had a Child Protective Services active investigation on me because my ex had lied. He's filed a false police report against me. And so I had a Child Protective Services investigation on. He told them that I had abused him. Once that was cleared up, 2 months after the relationship ended, I dove into life. I was happy, free. I was so elated. I felt like somebody released from jail after 20 years. And I was breathing in, the beauty of our world. And it was fantastic. So that was a really long-winded way for me to tell you that by the time I met Joe, I was ready. I wasn't looking for it, but emotionally I was ready to love somebody. Joe, what about trust? Did you have an issue with trust? Did you initially not trust me, or did you have your guard up around me?
By the time that we started talking and communicating, truly inside, I was gifted with the insight and to look at myself, to learn how to forgive the ex-narcissist, which is a continual process, to forgive myself and to accept what had happened, that it was for a bigger cause. My faith doesn't require to just jump out on blind faith. Like, there's common sense and there's a brain that God gave me to use. So the cool part is that I didn't even know what you looked like. I wasn't even looking for anybody, and I know this myself. And when we started communicating, there was just so many things that we had in common. Abuse from narcissists was big. Our faith in the same, you believe in Jesus, so do I. Your cool attitude, like you're down to earth, you're funny, like you're cool just like me. I mean, just because we have faith and we live that, like, got tattoos and piercings and we're rad, and you like to listen to Tupac sometimes, and I got my own music that I listen to, but here you are a couple states away, you're safe. We're not looking for anything, we're just talking. And you have 2 kids the same age, I have 2 kids about the same age. You have pets, I have pets. You're single, your ex has been gone for 2 years, mine's been gone for about 1.5 years. I would listen in the background when you talked on the phone, how you communicated with your children. It was loving. There's nothing fake about it. And not just that, but one of the advantages that you have after being out of a narcissistic relationship is that, unless you haven't addressed your trauma, like, there ain't no kind of pain out there. Now there is, but I'm saying as far as like a relationship is concerned, like, if you could make it through a narcissistic abuse and survive and thrive, you can make it through anything, So it just developed, and there was no, like, I would share a little bit about myself and you would. than I would and you would, and we begin to trust each other, my soul kind of led the way. I wasn't looking to be vulnerable and tell you everything about myself, but eventually you know pretty much everything about me. But you trusted it, and there's a deep respect and admiration that we have for each other. So the trust developed, but it wasn't like a big issue for me at all, really. I can see how it could be for some people. It's just, there's nothing special about me. It's just not the way that God had designed me to be, I guess. And I know, like, as far as the trust issue with you, it's kind of similar, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was for sure. There was never an issue, a time where I didn't trust you. I got to know you. The thing about Joe and I is that because initially our relationship was, we weren't physically together. We were just talking on the phone, that type of thing. And that forced us, and it was a good thing, it forced us to really get to know each other. So we became best friends. I mean, shortly, gosh, it was only a couple weeks later, we realized, wow. I mean, it's weird because our relationship moved fast, but not, because we weren't together. We didn't even meet each other until June. So once we met each other, things just, oh my gosh, like they changed from that point on. But even before that, there was a level of trust that I just naturally had. For so many of us, when we're with these narcissists or other toxic individuals, in retrospect, there are so many red flags that you see that you will wish that you had, followed. Oh, geez, why did I let him do this? Why did she do this? I should have said no here. I mean, both Joe and I have mentioned we should have broken up with our exes within the first few weeks of dating them. So that's painful. We were both with them for 20 years, and now we think, oh my gosh, we should have ended the relationship weeks into the entanglement. And it's painful to live that way. But with Joe, it's just different. I got to a certain level of recovery, and I trusted him. There were green flags around him, and I wasn't bringing in my ex. Now, I understand, I do, that when you're in a relationship, a bad relationship, when something bad happens to you in your life, you're aware of it all the time. You think of it. If you got a flat tire, you're aware you could get a flat tire, or, whatever happens. Like, my kids and I got locked out of the house a couple months ago, and it was horrible. We're in the garage with no shoes on, and nobody had their phone with them. And I'm thinking, oh, great, I'm gonna have to go to my neighbors barefoot and ask them if I can use their phone. I was able somehow, I can't believe I did this. I was able to pick the lock and get into the house somehow. I took there was a knife in the garage, and I just got in with doing that, picking the lock, which I've never done that before in my life, but it worked. And since then, to this day, if we go outside, my son keeps the sliding door open because he remembers when we were locked out. If you're in a relationship like that, remembering how bad your prior relationship was, that's going to cause you a problem in your future relationship. Now, I understand it's there, and I wouldn't be so arrogant as to say, well, just forget it, just don't pretend it didn't happen. It did happen, and it affects people, and you have trauma from it. I get that. But I would wait until you are past that to get into the new relationship. You can get into, there is life after narcissistic abuse. For me, over my dead body, will I let my ex cause me future problems? He took 20 years of my life. So when I met Joe, and I felt like God was telling me, this is a safe person, this is a good man. And so every single thing has lined up that way. When you have an authentic relationship, a good relationship, there's a knowing, and I'm at the time, I trust him. I trust him, and he's been nothing but kind and generous and loving to me for a consistently long amount of time. This isn't like a narcissistic relationship where, you're being love bombed at the beginning, and now you've been given a silent treatment here, cheated on here, this is happening. It's different. When you are in a good relationship, it's just different. And that's what I'm experiencing now. And it's a beautiful thing. Joe, what about recovery? Can you talk to me a little bit about recovery? How does recovery from narcissistic abuse affect our relationship, or from your end?
Well, it's kind of strange because in a way, I've recovered from a hopeless situation. It took a lot of pain and a lot of hard work on my end to do the shadow work and the inventory, the self-inventory necessary to see my own flaws, my own defects of character, which I could better get to understand myself and to avoid a situation like that. The way I look at it when we first started talking, just being friends and getting to know each other, I see it as like we were on our last leg of the race. Neither one of us knew how the hell we were going to get out of a situation. We were both broke, 2 kids, a bunch of animals. You're homeschooling, you're working part-time. I'm working full-time. I have the boys, her mother still living with me. What I saw happening, what we continue to do today, is to be each other's cheerleader. There were so many times where I'd have anxiety attacks or I was scared to do something, and I could talk to you and you would help me walk through it. And I had to be vulnerable to do that. This is just God doing for me what I couldn't do for myself. Like my soul just connected with yours. It was calling the shots before my mind could. But when these things would happen, it was okay. Like you were safe. And so we're at the last leg of our race. We're cheering each other on, and somehow we're both broke. Life began to change. I found a way to have enough money to save for a lawyer. You did. There was no coincidences, and we recognized like God, like performing miracles in our life. And Sharon, I don't know if it's like life changed or that we were changing on the inside. And because of that, we were able to start to see the everyday miracles that happen every day in life. Our eyes became open. We started listening instead of hearing. And it just went from there. From recovery began growth, evolution of the human spirit, creation, inspiration. And it's been like that from the point forward, from back in March all the way up until today. How do you see things as far as like the recovery process for you? And have you recovered? Are you still in it? What, like you and I, the reason why we connected?
Oh, geez. Yeah, I do feel like I've recovered. Like you, I do feel that I've recovered, and I'm able to be in a relationship with you and be authentic and be who I really am. I don't have any hang-ups or anything like that. And that, I think, has made all the difference. I mean, it really has. And also for Joe and I, like our relationship is very God-centered. We really, really both believe and know that we were, when you're in a relationship with a narcissist, we've had other videos about this, so I'm just going to be open about it. We believe that they're demonic. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. You're with somebody, a thing that's so cruel and so abusive. It's you can't even describe it to other people accurately. It's so horrendous. It's beyond human description. And so for Joe and I, coming from that, we believe God got us out, and I think that is probably how it is for everybody. I don't know how a human could have strength to overcome that type of evil. So, we've recognized that, and we are grateful for it and appreciate it. And we made God a part of our life. We talk to him together. We start our day with prayer. We end it with prayer, and we talk to God throughout the day. And, for us, it's made such a difference, and we follow what we believe God says. And, I'm not trying to make it all like, now we're happily ever after, but it kind of is like that. We both, we feel like we've been blessed with this relationship, and we're excited and we're happy to be moving forward. And it's such a privilege that we get to raise our kids together. We have 4 kids together. And these kids, they're going to be able to have the family that they didn't have when we were with our exes. So we get to have each other. It's amazing to us. We get to have each other. Our kids get to have the foundation that we really want them to have. Even our animals, our Joe has a little female dog, so do I. I know that they're around the same size, like same age. I mean, everything just lines up. So we're really excited about our future. But for people who have asked, I'm able to trust again because I'm in a good relationship. I'm with somebody that I can trust. And the other thing is I've gotten to a good point in my recovery and I'm close to God. That's really what it is. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, see, when you have and many people have had a spiritual experience. Like, I know that I didn't save me from that entanglement. Like, I know myself. Like, I know how I am. And like, it took a power much greater than any human or myself to get me out of it. And from that point forward, like, I began to rebuild my relationship with God. And the funny part is that 20 years ago, when I first got sober from drugs and alcohol, I was building on that relationship. That's the same God, Jesus, that saved me from my addictions. I know it was him. 9 months into sobriety is when I met my ex-narcissist. And, like, when you get together with these things, and not to blame her, it was my actions, my choices, but that relationship, that foundation that I was building slowly began to corrode. So for me, like, it's just when I'm close and have a conscious relationship with the God of my understanding that you happen to have the same beliefs in, and we're each helping each other grow even more in our relationship, and we're doing it together. Like, we're sharing a spiritual experience together. Like, how many, like, I don't know how many people could say that, we weren't looking for anything. It happened to just line up that way where we knew, like, and all we have to do is just follow what his will is for us, which is to love ourselves and to love him with all our heart, soul, and mind. Because when we love ourselves, we can love other people. You can't love somebody if you don't love yourself. And the strength that he has that gotten us through, like, I believe that for me, when you meet a narcissist and you're in a relationship with them, you come face to face with the greatest fears. All those issues, even codependents have, being abandoned, left alone, not being good enough. To think that same God got me through that, like, it's our job to feed that faith, to make it a reality. Like, you've got me closer to God through not your words, through your actions, and your inspiration. So that's where I'm at with it. I'm not any kind of, neither one of us are dating coaches or anything like that. All we could do is share our experience. And you know what, Sharon? It would have been okay. I was at a point that I was okay with myself, and I was enjoying my own company, getting back into my hobbies, spending more time with my children. I was okay either way. I wasn't closed-minded about it, and I just kept an open mind. Maybe one day, if it's meant to be, it's just if it's meant to be. Because there's a lot of people out there that aren't in relationships or dating. They're perfectly, like, happy and content. It's just, I feel bad for the ones that aren't content and full of peace, that are just closed-minded and could never trust or love anybody again. And I understand. I get it. It's just, put it this way, even when I was open-minded, like, I just wanted to be okay. That's all I wanted. Had I have wished in my recovery process, okay, Joe, what do you want to happen with your life? Like, I would have sold myself short by a landslide. Like, meeting you, the abundance of life, like, is incredible. It's like God has been trying to tell me, hey, you idiot, look how much I love you. Like, thank you for just coming to me to help you, and it's just incredible. It's just, there's no words to describe it, Sharon. If I heard this from somebody else, how we met, and if things would have happened, if it was a buddy of mine, I'd be kind of smiling at him, like, oh, that's nice. But in the back of my head saying, oh, God,
Yeah, I
It's
do.
just,
No, I get that. We've talked about that before. It's true. It's true. But this is what happened with us. And, so many people have asked me. So I wanted to just share that. And I really want, I always try to end my videos with hope, because I believe in hope. You need to have hope for anybody who is still feeling like you could not be in a relationship. Like, oh my gosh, I would never be able to trust somebody again. Work through that. because you can. You really can. It's like, say you got in a car accident. You wouldn't want to think to yourself, oh, I'd never get in a car again. Oh my gosh, never. I will never, ever get in a car again. You can. You still have a life to live. You're alive. Appreciate that, and work through it. Take the time to work through it. I mean, I understand. All of us understand. I just don't, I don't want anybody to not have the life that they could live because some horrible person, a beast of a thing was in your life. You deserve so much more than that. And there really is so much love and beauty in the world. Now, Joe and I are aware that with the holidays coming up, that can be a bad time for a lot of people, or even, you might be feeling, if you're still trauma bonded, that maybe your relationship with this person isn't so bad after all. So Joe and I have some plans coming up over the next few weeks that we hope will make everybody smile. We have some funny things coming up, I think. So look out for those. We'll be releasing some extra things soon. I hope everybody has a wonderful week. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will be with you on Wednesday, and Joe will be back next Monday. Right, Joe?
Absolutely.
All right. So thank you, everybody. God bless.